Welcome back everyone, this is Dirch, and I have another character, skill, and gear guide. This time I'm doing Maya. My plan was to do Sal, then Gage, and leave Maya to last, but I was going to do Sal with someone else, and the day I had that planned, it turned out I had plans that wasn't going to work out, so I'm trying to get Maya done. Well, because I can, and I kind of had an urge to do it out of somewhere. So, with that said, if you guys are familiar with my channel, and I think a lot of you are, you'll obviously know I have a deep, deep love for Maya. So this should be pretty fun. I've gone through a lot of her stuff doing builds, but I've never done this with her. So it is still going to be a lot of new stuff for you guys, and I should be able to talk quite a bit about her. So strap in. Let's, I'm going to go left to right again, like I do often, but starting here with Phase Lock. Phase Lock is her action skill where you press the action skill button to lock an enemy in another dimension, preventing him from fighting back for a short while. Some enemies cannot be phase locked, and instead they instantly take damage. The cooldown is 13 seconds, the duration is 5 seconds. They should have the duration on the card there. So, I love Phase Lock because I love crowd control. I'm somewhat of a micromanager or a control freak in my life. Not the best of qualities, but it's a quality I have, so own up to it, right? And I love the ability to control the battlefield with this. It's got some really good synergy with her skills, and holding an enemy stationary makes it easy to crit them, which increases your DPS kind of indirectly. You know, it's not like a gun buff, but when you can crit enemies more reliably, you do damage faster because crits are huge buffs. Or, you know, you miss less shots in general because they're still. Now, the damage from Phase Lock is unfortunately not very great. So the whole, if enemies cannot be phase locked, they take damage. In normal mode, it's okay. In True Vault Hunter mode, it's meh. And in Ultimate Vault Hunter mode, it's nothing noticeable. I mean, you might be able to finish off trash mobs if they have 10% left, basically. So it's not a good trade-off. And there's some faults with here. There's too many enemies that can't be phase locked. And there are so many skills that are phase lock dependent for Maya that it's a major flaw with her that if you can't phase lock the enemy, you don't get all those buffs. Now, this usually isn't a huge deal in a lot of the game, but on raid bosses, it's a big deal. There's some parts of maps where it's almost nothing but threshers, and you don't have a lot of option to phase lock, and that can be annoying. And then there's a few other bosses like the Leviathan and some. I mean, most like the warrior, you have racks flying around, or Wilhelm will spawn stuff, or his surveyors. Half the raids do have something to phase lock. But, you know, you shouldn't be able to hold a boss still. Now, in the pre-sequel, the Aurelia, with her ice shards, they kind of fixed this, that the ice shard could just, you know, float around and hit anything. So, I really wish they would have designed phase lock like that. So, if you couldn't phase lock something, phase lock would stay active for that duration, and that enemy would just stay slagged, or maybe get a slowdown, or some kind of effect on them. I can understand not being able to hold bosses still, but that way you can get your phase lock skills that are dependent on it while it's active. It would have been a good fix for it. So it's a flawed action skill, but it's so much fun, and it really changes the combat loop. And that's what I love about Borderlands as a shooter compared to a lot of other games, is the uniqueness of the characters. And just from the action skill alone, you know, phase lock versus deception versus gunzerking versus the turrets, it really fundamentally changes the combat loop of that character and changes the way you play. And like, there's always a character for someone, you know, something that usually you're going to latch on to and enjoy. And I love the combat loop of phase lock. So that's enough on that. Moving on to the skills. I'm going to switch to a comm where I don't have skills in that tree, which that one would do. Now, motion is kind of her glue. It keeps, kind of latches everything together for her. This is a tree you're almost always going to go halfway down it to get here. But I guess I'll talk about that later. Ward, I love Ward. I think it's a phenomenal skill. At tier 1, 5 out of 5 gives you 25% shield capacity and 40% shield delay. The delay is the bigger deal here, because that's a pretty big number. And this is always on. This really helps your survival. The faster your shields come back, the better. The extra capacity is nice, but keep aware there is a shield capacity cap with buffs where you don't always get the full buff. So if you're using turtle shields, you won't get the full capacity buff. But like I said, the delay is a big here, and there's a lot of comms that boost this. So 80% shield recharge delay, that's pretty big. Accelerate, this is a damn good tier 1 skill. Maya does not have a ton of damage buffs. She's got a few big ones. So it's nice to kind of have this passive one just sitting there. I think it's really solid. The bullet speed helps. Now, keep in mind, 20% bullet speed is not anywhere near velocity. I'm pretty sure velocity, you get 20% for 1 point. So this is not velocity. It's similar, but it's not nearly as bad. So putting points in this is not like 5 out of 5 in velocity. Why I mention this, for those of you that don't know, there are some guns, like the Pimpernel, where the faster the bullets, the higher the split of the pellets. Or guns like the Becca, the faster the pellets, the longer until the split happens. Or the Leuta, similar way. So there's a lot of guns that have a slight negative impact by bullet speed, but accelerate, again, it's not quite what velocity is, so it's not as big of a deal to watch out of, or with. So you can still use points like that and have guns that are somewhat negatively affected by it. It's not the end of the world. It will help you hit enemies when not phase locked, or your bullets just get there faster, which is good. So pretty solid skill, and sometimes she needs those underlying damage buffs sitting there to help her. Suspension is cool, not always necessary. So phase lock's only up for 5 seconds, which is a short time. This, at 2.5, you increase it to 7.5. If you can boost it, which you can double the duration of phase lock. So most of the time you're not going to need this, but when you do need it, you really want it. If you're going to subsequence, which I'll get down to later, you're going to want this. But even without that, I usually put a few points here because, again, most of the time I'm not going to need it. But when I need to get rid of an ultimate badass loader, I might need the extra time. Or sometimes you phase lock something and then some enemies are hitting you and you kind of got to move before you shoot it. So there's a lot of times where that extra duration does come in handy, even if you don't always need it. I love it. Kinetic Reflection. So this one, I usually skip, but I really do like it. I mean, it depends on the build you're doing. So, it's a kill skill. After killing an enemy, you gain the ability to deflect enemy bullets, sending them flying towards nearby enemies. You take reduced damage from deflected bullets. Kinetic Reflection only works with bullets. This effect lasts for a short time. At 5 out of 5, your deflection chance is 100%, which is awesome. Damage reduction is 50%. And that's not damage resistance, that is reduction. So that's a big deal for bullets. And deflected bullet damage 100%. So the problem with this is, as you boost this, and I think I have some comms that can do that. Now, here you have 100, 100, and 200. This is really cool. So, the deflection chance absolutely can't go above 100. Now, the damage reduction, you will at this point take 0 damage from bullets that hit you. Not from splash damage, not from grenades, not from rockets, but just the bullet itself. Not from the dots. So, it's not all damage, it's just the bullets. But that's still a big deal. And if you have a comm that boosts this to 11 out of 5, that damage reduction goes to 100%. So you get 10% actually healed back to you, which can heal your shield as well. And that is really awesome that when enemies shoot you, they actually heal you. The downside of this is it's only bullets, and there's a lot of attacks in this game that are not bullets, and regular bullets aren't actually that scary to me even at OP8. What is scary to me is splash damage, dots, rocket launchers, grenades. All the attacks that really hurt really badly are not bullets. They're the other things. That's why I kind of don't love this. The other reason is you see that deflected bullet damage at 10 out of 5 it goes up to 200%, which is good, but the way this game scales is your damage goes up crazy, but enemies' damage doesn't go up as crazy because your health doesn't go up as crazy, even though it goes up pretty big. But the enemy health gets so big compared to enemy damage that their bullets don't actually do that much damage when reflected, so that bullet damage isn't great. And one reason you can kind of see that is when they made the antagonist after OP8 was out, you look at this, bullet damage is 880%. This is 200% at 10 out of 5. So you can kind of see they, even Gearbox, by way of making the antagonist, kind of realize this wasn't that great. But the protection on it's really good, especially if you're doing like Rough Rider builds or whatever. And it's got some really good synergy, so when the bullets reflect off, they count as your bullets. Now, I haven't been able to confirm with any of that stuff if they get your damage buffs, because you don't know the damage of the enemy's guns, and it's really too many variables in there to figure that out. But what we do know is a bullet that bounces off can proc Cloud Kill and Chain Reaction. So that's how I know they count as your bullets. Also, not only the fact that you can get this up to heal you, but since that damage is bouncing off of you, it counts as damage you do to an enemy if that hits you. So when that bullet bounces off you, you get 100% damage reduction, and then that bullet hits an enemy, it will work with life tap. Now, even though that damage isn't great, the lifesteal on it is pretty solid. So it's got some cool synergies with Maya, even if the bullet damage would go up. If the bullet damage on here was up where the antagonist was, I would be all in for it. Now, in normal and true Vault Hunter mode, that might be overkill, but it'd be cool if it would get a UVHM buff where it kind of doubles. So maybe it's 200% at 5 out of 5, and at 10 out of 5 it's 400%, so it's closer to the antagonist. It's still half of it, but maybe it needs to be where the antagonist is. I don't know. Probably doesn't have to be that high because you have better chance and reduction. But really situationally amazing skill. But it's kind of one of those things where you almost want to like 10 out of 5, 11 out of 5, or nothing. If I'm doing a trickster build, I'll put 1 point into it sometimes and just have 6 out of 5 or 5 out of 5. And that's still pretty good. But yeah, I guess I've probably talked about that too much. It's an interesting skill. It's been kind of a divider of the Maya community. Some people love it, some people skip it. And it's hard because this tree's full of good stuff. Next is Fleet. Fleet makes you move faster if your shield is depleted. This is really helpful for farming runs, especially those long farming runs. So if like you want to farm Captain Flint, you're probably going to want to build with Fleet, where you can throw on a Rough Rider, boost it, and get to him really fast because that's a long run. But I don't like Fleet builds personally, because there's only one comm that boosts Fleet, and that's kind of a bad comm that doesn't have any other really good synergies, and it's really only good for running fast and doesn't boost any of your other DPS. And Maya has some of the lower DPS out of all the Vault Hunters, so that really hampers you. And while it's cool to move that fast, I don't find it actually that helpful outside of, again, running to bosses quickly. and most of them I can get to fast enough. So I rarely do this, but I know a lot of people that absolutely just can't live without it. It's just, there's so many good skills she has, I have a hard time spending 5 points on moving faster. That's all I'll say on Fleet. Converge. This is a must-have skill for Maya. I mean, you can play without it, but it doesn't make any sense to do it. So, it's an action skill augmentation. Your phase lock ability now pulls nearby enemies towards the original target. This deals a small amount of damage to affected enemies. I could give a shit about the damage. It is a singularity effect on your phase lock, and this provides many buffs for her in many different ways. One, well, the damage of phase lock, the damage of this, but when you pull all those enemies in together, they have a slight, like, second stun where they kind of have to re-get their bearings and move back. So not only they can't attack you while they're getting pulled, about a second after the pull they can't attack you. So this causes you to have a lot more crowd control. Not only you're grouping them up where AoE attacks, you know, big guns like the Slow Hand or rocket launchers or the Herald, some shotguns with a wider spread, the Sword Explosion, where you can hit them more with that. It gives you more safety time. And, you know, even when those enemies are kind of just coming out of that stun, it's easier to crit them. So you can easily finish off some enemies and hit the one in the bubble. But then you also have things like AoE of a cloud kill. Chain reaction works better when enemies are closer, and I'll cover that more in chain reaction. You have Helios, you have Rune. There are so many skills that are made better by Converge that it makes everything work for Maya. It makes her so much better. It's one of the best game changers in the game, in my opinion. I know there's a lot of good ones. I mean, there's Boar, Maya's also got Cloud Kill, but Converge just makes her so good. Next is Inertia, and this is one of the reasons why I find it even harder to get Fleet. Inertia is a kill skill, where killing an enemy causes your shields to quickly regenerate, increases your reload speed for a few seconds. So you get 4% of your max shields per second at 5 out of 5 of this, and 50% reload speed. This is a big deal, because, again, like I've said time and time again in these videos, the scariest damage source in OP8 is dots. And if your shield, this, for 7 seconds, I'm getting 4% of my max shields per second. So if I've got a dot, my shield's regenerating through that dot, which drastically slows down that dot because it has to keep counteracting that shield regen. And then it'll get to my health and my shield will come back. It's got to kill my shield to get to my health. This drastically improves your survival to insane levels, especially because Maya's got a lot of good health regen underneath her shields. But then on top of it, 50% reload speed is a very solid DPS buff to go with it. The only thing I don't like about this skill is no comp boosted. I don't know why. Like, there's so many skills in this game that probably shouldn't be boosted by comms that are. Money Shot, you know, Tombstone in the pre-sequel. Why Inertia got ignored? Did they think it would be too powerful? I mean, 8% of your max shields per second and 100% reload speed would be amazing, but I don't think it's broken. And it's a kill skill. Now, that 10 out of 5 with a Krieg with a legendary Reaper, so you can get 14 seconds? Yes, please. That would make her nearly unkillable. This skill is so good. And when you combine this and Ward, I know she doesn't have as many shield skills as Axton, but these two combined make her pretty close to Axton for the shield abilities. Not quite as good, but these two combined are pretty freaking deadly. Or pretty freaking tanky, I guess. Anyways, I can't say enough good things about Inertia. When I was starting as Maya, I used to argue that I didn't need inertia because other things, and boy, I was wrong. Inertia is amazing. Quicken. Cooldown. 5 out of 5, 30 points. Maya does have a pretty short cooldown, but because it's a short cooldown, short duration, you want to spam phase lock. This is her combat loop. So depending on your build, you might need this or you might not. I don't have it in my main build because I have a bone and the legendary siren, 2 big cooldowns. You don't necessarily always need all 3 with a bone, a cooldown on your comm, and that. But if I was going with if I was doing a build like with a legendary cat, I might try to get quicken and wear a bone to get that. But it all depends on your other gear. Sometimes just a bone is enough. So sometimes you just don't need any cooldown because she doesn't have a terrible duration. But I like phase lock to come back quick, so I like this, but I can't always get it if I want to get my other 2 capstones. And sometimes it's even worth skipping, I should say, just because you want ward, you want accelerate, you want kinetic reflection, you want suspension, you sometimes want fleet, you want inertia. If you don't need this cooldown, if you're doing a binder or a legendary siren, and then you can wear a bone as well, you really don't need this because there's so many good skills up here. It can be hard to not get them all. So subsequence, this is a love or a hate. I've done some builds recently with it. I just did a Thoughtlock video a while ago. Action skill augmentation. When an enemy under the effects of your phase lock die, there is a chance for your phase lock ability to seek out and affect another target. At 5 out of 5, you have a 100% chance. To me, this is an all or none. I'm never going to put like a few points into it so it maybe can happen. I'm either going to go all in for subsequence or I'm not. And it's really good, but then there's a few drawbacks. So if you phase lock an enemy, that enemy dies and there's no other enemies around, instead of phase lock ending, your bubble just floats up into the sky nice and slow, and you have to wait for your entire timer. And the thing that sucks about that, if you're doing subsequence, you're usually doing suspension, and a lot of times you're boosting that. So now instead of a 5-second phase lock, you have a 10-second. And if you have that one enemy, you kill him really fast, you've got 9 seconds to wait for that, and then you have the rest of your cooldown, and that kind of sucks. I wish they would have done it like Aurelia, where there's no enemies away, it just comes back to you and you get reduced cooldown. But at least they learned. It's just too bad we have to suffer that. The other thing that sucks is phase lock doesn't go through terrain. So there's a lot of times where, if I would phase lock someone here and kill them, it would get stuck in here and it'd have a hard time getting around to get to the next enemy, wasting your duration. But when it works, it's so amazing because, I talked about how awesome Converge is. So, you kill them, you kill an enemy in the bubble, Sweet Release goes off, so you're getting healing. It gets to another enemy, Converge happens, and then Helios happens, that fire AoE, and then Ruin happens, and there's Slag and Shock and Corrosive, and then you kill them, and it gets another nearby enemy, they get reconverged, and now they're Slagged, so now they get hit with the Helios, where it does a lot more damage because they're Slagged, and they get hit with all the Rune stuff, and Cloud Kill's probably going off, killing them all really fast, and you're shooting at them, and Chain Reaction is weakening them all. So now the next one that gets hit, he's almost dead. Phase Lock might just kill him, and then they got a bunch of AoEs, and the loop is legit, and it's so fun when it works well. But there are, like I said, drawbacks to it. So you have to decide if it's something you want. I guess the other drawback I didn't mention of this is flying enemies. The bubble is slower than Surveyors. So you can't control who it's going to target next, like you can, again, with a release Ice Shard, you can switch targets. Subsequence will sometimes target a Surveyor, and as it flies around, you're wasting your entire duration just watching it chase that fucking Surveyor. Unless the surveyor stops to shoot at you or heal someone with their shield, you're just going to waste your duration. So there is give and take with it. Like I said, when it works, and it's got a lot of awesome synergies. And when it doesn't work, you want to murder things. And it makes it harder to murder things, so you're not getting your buffs. And then lastly, we have Thoughtlock, the controversial one. I just did a long video on this, kind of Thoughtlock versus Phaselock. But what Thoughtlock does is it causes your enemies to turn on their friends. So, actually, I'll read the whole thing. Instead of being locked down, I should start over. Action skill alteration. Phaselock causes enemies to turn on their friends instead of being locked down. Additionally, Phaselock's duration is increased, but so is its cooldown. The cooldown is glitched, so you don't get that penalty. So it doesn't turn the cooldown to 16 seconds. But it does turn Phaselock into 9 seconds. Or if you max out suspension and boost it, up to 14 seconds. Actually, if you do it plus 6, even longer, but usually you're not going to do that. So what this does is a whole lot of things. So like I said, you don't pick up the enemy. A little bubble goes around the enemy's head. And Converge still goes off, and now that enemy is on your ally, so he's no longer a red dot on the map, he is your teammate. So he will be attacking other enemies, and other enemies will attack him, giving you a ton of aggro relief for the entire duration of Thoughtlock or until the enemy is dead. And that sounds really awesome, and it is really awesome. And when it works, it fucking works. But, sorry about that, like Subsequence, there are some drawbacks. So because the enemy is moving around and fighting, they're not held stationary where you can just shoot them in the head really easily and kill them. Now sometimes they're walking around really slow, but sometimes they're not, or sometimes the surveyor's going to go fly away, or my example I always go to is Rabid Skags. Rabid Skags are very threatening enemies, and if I can Phaselock them, I can go right up to that Phaselock, shoot them in the mouth, kill them in 1 or 2 shots with really powerful weapons, but I can usually kill them really fast in that Phaselock. With Thoughtlock, they're either running around attacking things, or if everything's dead, they usually turn their back on you and they kind of run away from you, making them hard to kill. And that kind of sucks. There's some other weird things with it, like that enemy is now your ally. So if you shoot that enemy, you do damage to him, but you don't get chain reaction. Because you're your ally now, Zero can't execute him. Death Trap won't attack him. The turrets won't attack him. Close enough won't work on him. Some of that stuff. And if you're not used to playing with someone that's used to Thoughtlock, because the bulb around their head's so small, sometimes they won't know if they're Thoughtlocked or not. And let's say it's like an ultimate badass, not loader, but like an ultimate badass marauder. All of a sudden, like, he's not attacking, he's standing around, and they're kind of shooting him. They don't know when it's about to end, so all of a sudden it's over, and he turns around and just fucking kills them. So there are drawbacks to it, but like in that video, you saw me run through the Bloodshot, and link that video, I fucking destroyed him. Like, I destroyed that entire map so easily. So it can work really well, but there are some drawbacks, and here's the thing about it. Try it out and see if you like it. That's it. You might love it, you might hate it. But give it a shot. See what you think. Because I'm not going to tell you it sucks or it's awesome. Because it both sucks and it's awesome. It's depending on who you are and how you like to play Maya. I prefer Phaselock because it's just the loop that I like better, but every now and then I do have fun going to Thoughtlock. Against the dragons in OP8, if you're going to try to solo with the Maya, it's almost necessary. Because that aggro relief, you get one of Brood's little mini dragons. The dragons are attacking them. You can attack the dragons and keep your B up so you can do enough damage to kill them. Works great. In the peak, If you do like a 3 or 4 Mayas all with Thoughtlock, it makes the peak a joke, especially with the assassins part, because they're just fighting each other and you're just standing around laughing, and yeah, you're just safe. Nobody's ever attacking you. So yeah, it's depends on what you like. So that is the motion tree. Like I said, Converge is the glue, but you have great survival with inertia and ward. Suspension, is just phenomenal. Kinetic reflection can be awesome. Accelerates a solid tier 1 skill. Fleet can be awesome. It's all really good stuff. There's give and takes here. This isn't always necessary. This isn't always necessary, but a lot of good skills, and it's her utility tree, and I love it. So on to the next one. I'll be right back. The next tree is the Harmony tree. This is her healing tree, but it does have some DPS in it. So the first one is Mind's Eye. Increases critical hit damage and increases melee damage. This would have been so much better if it was any other buff than melee. The critical hit, 25, is not a lot of critical hit damage. So it's something. And it's her only critical hit buff, which is good. I would really rather have it either a much bigger critical hit buff or have the other part of it, critical hit and gun damage might be too much, but magazine size, reload, anything else than melee damage. So it's usually, unless you're doing raid bosses, I never put 5 points in this, really. If you're using a comm that boosts it, put 1 point in and have 6 points and use other points elsewhere. Like I said, 25% critical hits are right, but it's not huge. It's always on, which is cool. But the 30% melee is wasted, and usually if you're using like a cat comm or something that boosts this, you're boosting a lot of other DPS, and you don't need 10 points in it. Especially when there's a lot of good points down here to get. Speaking of that, I should switch a comm that does not boost skills in that tree. Do I have any? Come on. That doesn't. Next is Sweet Release. If you're starting a new Maya, this is something you should automatically throw a few points into before you go down and do whatever else you're going to do, because this is one of the best healing skills in the game. If you have an enemy phase locked, if the enemy you have phase lock is killed, it generates life orbs that automatically seek out and heal you and your friends. The healing is stronger when you or your friend's health is low. So lower your health, the more it does. So each orb can do up to 15% of your max health. And what's really, really freaking awesome about this is it's so easy to kill enemies in that phase lock. 5 orbs floating around, each at 15%. Add up big time, or up to 15%. And they not only heal your friends, they can heal your friends' pets. So this will heal Death Trap and the turrets, which is really freaking awesome. And I don't know what else to say about it. It's a lot of healing. It's easy to trigger, but it is one of those things that's phase lock dependent, like I was talking about. So on some boss fights, you'll never get it. But if you can phase lock something and kill it, Sweet Release is really freaking amazing. And the fact that it's tier 1, you can get this kind of healing at tier 1 is hugely powerful. If this was tier 5, I wouldn't be saying the same thing about it. But the fact that you can get it right away just adds so much to how powerful she is. Restoration. So this one is cool for a few levels. I'm only going to put 1 point into it now and explain why. So shooting other players heals them. Also increases your max health. So Maya's one that does like 2 health stacks, so the extra health is cool on her. But the converting your damage into healing. So the way the game scales is your damage scales a lot more than your health does. So this gets better with every level. And when you get to the OP levels, your health doesn't go up, but your gear does go up. So your damage to health goes up really fast at the OP levels. So at OP8, with 1 point in this, you can one-shot your allies to full health with powerful guns like the Pimpernel or Becca, like the guns I have. So this is a skill that's so good that it's always worth it if you're playing any co-op in OP8 to put 1 point into it. And 1 point will do enough. But also, like Sweet Release, you can also heal turrets and Death Trap with this, which is really freaking cool. Now, guns with AoE attack like rocket launchers and, again, the slow hand, sword explosion, you can hurt enemies and heal allies in one shot. They used to be bugged where if you did that, it would heal the enemies with your ally, but they fixed that. Or penetration guns, again, like the Becca, like the Twister. If you're playing with an axe and they put their turrets up and, let's say a spider ant goes up and starts attacking the turret, I can shoot the spider ant in the butt, shoot right through the spider ant, hit the spider ant and the turret, and do damage to the spider ant and heal the turret all at once. That's fucking awesome. And you can do that with just 1 point. It's phenomenal. Now, if you're going full nurse, you're going to want to put 5 points into it and get the extra health. Like the legendary nurse boosts this, so 30% more health. That's a big deal, especially with some of the skills I'm about to go over. And if you're going full nurse, you're probably doing guns that don't do as much damage, so it takes more to heal. And at 15%, you'll do it really well. Wreck. Well, you have an enemy phase lock, you gain increased fire rate and damage with all gun types. 50% fire rate and 30% gun damage. Holy fuck. That's a major DPS increase. And it's phase lock dependent. So again, it's one of her 3 biggest DPS increases. I mean, I think she doesn't have a whole lot. But this is a major DPS increase, and it sucks because on half the raids you can't even use it, which really blows. But when you have it, it's freaking amazing. Now with Jacob's guns, which I tend to love, it's not as amazing because you're not really getting that much out of the fire rate, and 30% gun damage only while phase lock is up isn't that impressive. But on pretty much all other guns, it is ridiculously amazing. And it's boostable by a bunch of comms, so getting it up to 100 or 110 fire rate and 60% damage, that's just fucking nuts. Elated. So, Elated is cool for a few reasons. Well, you have an enemy phase locked, you and your friends regenerate health. Regenerates 5% of your max health per second. Now, the cool thing about this is that's your max health is what everyone gets healed for. So not everyone gets 5% of their max health, they get 5% of your max health a second. So if I go and put on a Blood of the Ancients, and let's say an Evolution, and a Legendary Nurse, and turn everything on, and go, you can see how much my health just jumped up. Run over here. Alright, so that's 3,371,000. 10% of that, if you're not boosting your health at all, that's insane. Yeah. Oops. Oh yeah, there. Max health. So that will pretty much, if you don't stack your health, that will pretty much get you past health gate almost every second. If not, it might actually do that. So that's pretty freaking impressive. Now, if you're just playing solo, it's still really good. Like I said, where is one that gets rid of all those things? Dots are some of the scariest things. So if you have, if you take a dot and you phase lock someone, between this and maybe you get a kill and get inertia going, you're going to survive it pretty well. So it's just really, really solid healing. It's great for co-op. I absolutely love it. Some people would argue if you have Sweet Release, you don't need Elated. I mean, technically need is a weird way of phrasing it, but I think it's better with Elated and Sweet Release. I mean, there's no doubt about that. You don't need them both. Now, if you're doing like sub-sequence and you keep proccing those and you're getting Sweet Release like crazy, yes. But if you're not in a sub-sequence build, I like Elated. It just keeps you safe. Res is another one. Put 1 point in it. Even if you don't play co-op a lot, I don't want to like... I'll be playing mostly solo, but then I'll jump into a co-op game and I don't want to go respec and have everyone wait for me. I just want to jump in and play. So even if I'm playing 90% solo, I will still put 1 point in res and 1 point restoration. I can sacrifice those 2 points so that when I jump into a co-op game, I'm ready to go. Yeah, basically, you instantly revive a friend and fight for life by using phase lock on him or her. Awesome. When your teammate's down, and phase lock's got unlimited range, and it's really accurate. So you can like snipe res someone from way across the map too if you have a line of sight to them, which is really awesome. But it just helps. You can get them up faster. Now, sometimes it is better to phase lock the enemy than res your ally, because there is your fight for your life loops. Let's say I go down and I have these 3-4 guys all shooting at me, and someone reses me, but when you get res, you're under a health gate, and all of a sudden you have 4 enemies shooting you, and then you just die again. And then they res you again, and you die again, and the enemies never die, and then you get bleed out timers. So in those cases, sometimes it is definitely better to phase lock that enemy. That way Elated is going, and if you have Elated, and it will start healing them. And then they can kill the enemy phase lock because it's sitting still in its slag because you should have rune. And then when they get up, they have more health and less enemies. Or, you can help pick off a few or weaken it and make it easy for them to get up. So sometimes it's better not to res them. And there are certain times, too, I've been playing co-op with people that are just irresponsible and they keep going down and they think I'm going to get them. And I have a res limit where I'm just going to start letting you die and take care of my shit. Because if I'm resing someone every 10 seconds, I'm not phase locking anything, then I'm not killing anything and it's no fun. So, if you guys are playing with a Maya, don't take advantage of it. Don't be an asshole. Don't just keep dying because Maya will save you. That's my little public service announcement for res. Recompense. This is another complicated one. When you take health damage, there's a chance that your attacker takes damage equal to the amount of health lost. 50% chance to hurt your attacker. So as I mentioned with some of these other skills like restoration and kinetic reflection, the difference of scaling of damage and health, the problem is your enemy's health compared to the little health you have and then the damage you take from that, this thing scales really badly. Now, however, there is a build that works up to OP3 with it, where basically this damage that goes back to them counts as your damage. So how this works is you boost this up to 10 out of 10 with some class mods. And then you slag yourself with a grog. And when they shoot you, that damage that goes to them will actually heal you from the grog, making it impossible to kill you as long as you keep yourself slagged. And that damage will kill them, so they'll die from attacking you. And you'll keep healing. You can actually kill Pyro Pete with this method. it takes a long ass time and it's really fucking boring, but it's kind of funny. Again, up to OP3, because once damage resistance starts coming into play, it no longer works. But you can do this up to OP3, and you can just keep yourself slagged, and as Pyro Pete puts his dots on you, you just have the grog out, and his dots will actually be doing damage to him, and then heal you because it's your damage. It's really kind of silly and hilarious. But it does work. It is a thing. I don't know if there's any videos on YouTube of that. That came from the old forums. I don't know where you can still dig that up, but it was called the Unkillable Melee Siren, and it was a really cool thing. But outside of that, there's not really a use for recompense. It can be okay in normal mode, maybe a little bit in True Vault Hunter mode, but it's kind of one of those things in UVHM. Unless you're going that specific build, it doesn't have a whole lot of use. Next is sustenance. A lot of people for a long time said this sucks. You can constantly regenerate health. The lower your current health, the more powerful the regeneration. Regenerates up to 2% of your missing health every second. No, if you have Immolate, sustenance does not cancel it out. I know Baru said it did, but it doesn't. I did a video on this, showing it, proving it. I'll link it. You guys can watch it. Without a shadow of a doubt, you still get Immolate while you have sustenance. Now, other people say this sucks because 2% of missing health won't get you past health regeneration. It's going to take so long. Or past health gate of 50%. That is very true. But only about 5% of the attacks in the game health gate you. The other ones nickel and dime you to death, and this does help defend against those, but it also helps defend against dot damage. Once again, the scariest damage in the game in OP levels is dot damage. And this works very well against dots. If you have this and inertia, you can get a kill. Dots aren't going to phase you, because if they break your shield, they start hitting your health, but your health's regenerating as they hit you, and your health is just going to get stronger as they hit you more. I think you have to have this boosted at 10 out of 5. But I've had this before where I've been able to survive Pyro Pete's dot because of sustenance. And his dot was on me, and it couldn't kill me. Sustenance alone. That wasn't inertia, that wasn't elated. Just sustenance made it so Pete's dot couldn't kill me. I forgot the original setup. I'll try to reproduce it maybe if you guys think that's interesting. But I think I had like the evolution on, so I also had that healing. And with the health stack, it's more health per second. Which helps you fight against the dots better. But I would be down around like 15-20% health, and the dots could not... The dot damage at that point was equal to sustenance, so I would just stay somewhere around like 15% health, and I couldn't lower it any further, and it was really funny. So yeah, that is a thing. But yeah, so I really like this, and that's why I have it in my build at 5 out of 5. Some people don't get the point of it, but again, dots are the number one cause of death for me in OP levels, a lot of times. Life Tap. This is another one like Restoration that scales really well because, again, your damage scales a lot higher than your health, especially in OP levels, and Lifesteal really benefits from that. So it's a kill skill. Killing an enemy causes you to steal health from an enemy you damage for a short time. So at 5 out of 5, you have 6% lifesteal. If you guys are familiar with Moxie guns, most Moxie guns are around 2 to 3%. Sorry about that. I gotta drink some more water before I do the next tree. This is double the lifesteal of most Moxie guns. Now, the Ruby's 12%, the Grog's a stupid 65%. But lifesteal here at 6%, the balance of most Moxie guns is the guns that did more damage, like the Slow Hand, the Kit, and the Hail, had the lower healing. But those guns, if you've used them, you can easily heal up to full really fast with those guns. So with 6% lifesteal, you don't even need that much. I use this with, I only have 2 points in this typically. And 2 points in this is enough for me to often go from, 10-20% health to well past 50% or even 100% with one shot. And that's really damn impressive depending on how I health stack. So it's really awesome when you have a skill that is, once again, that powerful. And we all know how good Moxie guns are. When you can turn all of your Moxie, or all of your guns you hold into Moxie guns, that is a DPS increase. Hold on. That is a DPS increase because you're not swapping your guns. So Maya doesn't have any swap speed. So let's say my Twister is my Grog. Alright, so I gotta get this. I gotta shoot or phase lock or throw a grenade while holding this to heal. And then swap back to my DPS gun. That is a slow process. What's a lot faster is if I can just take my DPS gun and I can just get healing just from shooting this gun. That is much more efficient. And lifesteal lets you do that. So, some people say this entire tree is invalidated by the Grog, but my argument to that is, if I'm going to use the Grog, where is it? Alright, so if I'm going to use a Grog, I have 4 weapon slots. I've just taken up 25% of my weapon slots to heal. Now, usually, if I'm going to do that, I need, let's say this is a Chain Lightning, to use with it. Now I've taken my only grenade slot to use with my healing gun. That's taking a lot. Now, if I can take 5 points here, 5 points here, 5 points here, and 2 points here, which is what I do, that is actually a less, all of those added up is a lesser percent of my skill points than this is of my gun points. So I would rather put the points into healing skills, and you don't have to max out all of these to not need a Grog. But if I can get enough healing skills where I don't need the Grog, I can just keep shooting, especially with life tap, with my normal guns. My DPS is up, my survival is up, I don't have to run and take cover or leave from a fight as often. I'm going to make that trade and keep up a better assortment of guns. Also, my argument with that is the Wildlife Preserve. In the Wildlife Preserve, you have armored enemies, you have flesh enemies, you have armored enemies that are resistant to shock, you have stalkers, which are 90% shield, so you want shock damage. You can get badass fire skags, which are flesh enemies that are immune to fire. So in a map like that, you want shock damage, you want corrosive damage, you want fire damage, and you want some neutral damage that can hit the other things. So if I'm putting one of my gun slots into just healing, I'm starting to lose that source. And then some people too like to do a fight for your life gun. Well, now I only have 2 guns to deal with all that, and that's not enough. So that's why I like these points. Next up is Scorn. So this is her center tree capstone. And Scorn is what we know as the Slag Ball. Scorn is a melee override. I'm going to hop over here so I can demonstrate it better, I believe. That you press your melee button to throw an orb of slag that constantly damages enemies near it. The ability has a cooldown. Pressing melee while it is on cooldown, you perform a regular melee attack, and it's got an 18-second cooldown. So what this does is as you throw the ball, it shoots out kind of beams, or actually somewhat bullets, that go out and hit enemies. And they have a very high chance of slagging. I don't know what that chance is. It's not 100, because sometimes it does not slag. But it is definitely not 0. So what you want to do is you want to kind of throw it up in the air so that those... I thought there's some things that could be targets over here. So that the bullets that reach out from it, or the shots it puts out, can hit a lot of enemies rather than just the one. So you don't want to just kind of throw it at the ground. I made a whole video on how to best use Scorn, and it's got a bunch of like hidden abilities. Because those things attack enemies, things like Saturn's missile barrage, or Vermes' missile barrage of his little like Varkid missiles, and all those things count as enemies, and it'll hit them and kill them. It'll also do that to like the Badassosaurus nuke, or Constructor nukes, and a bunch of different things. So you want to kind of aim it above the enemies, and that way you kind of have this big cone of what it can hit, because it goes quite a distance. That was probably a little bit high. You want to throw it low enough where it can kind of reach them. You can get too high where it doesn't reach them, but you want to have it kind of skirt above the enemies where you want to, so it can hit a very big range of enemies. And it takes some practice to get used to kind of placing it right, but when you get it down, it is an insanely effective slagging tool. Now, one thing that kind of sucks about it is a lot of people go Rune versus Scorn, because Rune is tied to Phase Lock. So Scorn can slag more things in one throw, but you have an 18-second cooldown. Rune is naturally on a 13, but since you have things like the Legendary Siren, the Legendary Binder, the Bone of the Ancients, and Quicken, you can get Phase Lock down to like a 5-second cooldown or something crazy. Whereas Scorn, the only way to reduce it is the Melee Relic that has the Melee Override cooldown, and that relic kind of sucks. So yeah, it's harder to get Scorn active more often. I wish it had a shorter cooldown. I think that would alleviate a lot of people's issues with it. If it had a 10-second cooldown, it would almost be too good, but somewhere around like 12 seconds or so, I think it'd be a much more popular option with a lot of people. But it has so many good features to it. I think it's tremendous. And again, kind of like I talked about with not using the Grog for a healing weapon, if I have Scorn, and let's say I also have Rune, which I do in my main build, I don't need a slag gun, which again frees up a slot, prevents me from swapping weapons, and etc. Another cool thing about Scorn is you can throw it in Fight for Your Life. Yeah, that should kill me if I had any grenades. So you can throw it while in Fight for Your Life and use that as your slag tool, which really comes in handy, because in Fight for Your Life you definitely want to be able to kill better. I'll demonstrate it quickly here. These two grenades should definitely kill me. So here I am in Fight for My Life, and I can throw a Scorn, and then I can shoot what's underneath it. It's great. And there's a great death animation. So, you know, it has those hidden things. You can throw it while on a ladder, which you never really use, but you can do that. Like I said, you can go watch my video on the how to use Scorn. It's a cool Dragon Ball Z thumbnail. So that is everything to the Harmony Tree. I love it. You don't have to go all the way down it, obviously. If you're going for a subsequence build, it's actually pretty hard to go down it, because you're better off with Rune, because that'll go off every time subsequence does. But if you're not going down to subsequence, it's a good tree to try to go down to, and don't just believe into that hype that, oh, the Grog makes all this pointless, because all this allows you to not have to carry a Grog and not have to swap to heal, and you can just stay in combat and do damage faster. Now, against raid bosses, you still want the Grog, but in regular gameplay, I think this beats the Grog. So, anyways, I will move on to the cat tree. So, onto the cat tree. Actually, before I dig into this, if my voice sounds a little different than it did when I was doing the Harmony Tree before I started Scorn, it's because last night I got into a major coughing fit and I had to stop right after Life Tap, and now it's the morning and I'm continuing this, so there's a chance that I sound quite different. I can't tell. But if you're wondering, that's why. Anyways,
That being said, Flicker. Flicker is really her only elemental skill locked to guns, and I recently did a video saying, is Maya an elemental character? And this was part of that reason. Some coffee. It is the morning. So, Flicker increases your chance to cause elemental status effects with guns. Not the dot damage, just the status effect damage. Now, here you see my Pimpernels have a 37.5% chance. I will drop one. And it goes up to 48. That's because it is your 37.5 times 1 plus 37.5, or sorry, 37.5% times 1 plus 30%, or times 1.3 for the Flicker. And that's how that boosts. That is an additive, is not multiplicative. People get confused by that because they think it's adding to that. Or they think it's multiplicative, not additive, and it would be better if it's additive. No, it would be better if it's addition. If you would just want 30% to add to 37.5 to make it 67.5, that's not multiplication. That would be additive or multiplicative. That is just addition. You know, that thing you learn in elementary school. So yes, it is an additive skill because if you add bar to it, it would be your elemental effects chance, so 37.5% chance times 1 plus Flicker plus bar plus relic plus class mod, all that stuff. They are additive buffs. Just to get that out of the way before people in the comments say it would be better if it was additive and not multiplicative. No, it would be better if it was addition. That is a big difference. But anyways, Flicker it's an okay skill. Now dots in this game aren't what they were in Borderlands 1. They don't do as much damage, especially at endgame. But they still do a decent amount of damage. And where this comes in the best for me is with life tap. Because your dots don't seem to be doing a lot to the enemies because they have constant health regen, kind of like sustenance. But that damage is still happening and you still get lifesteal on it. So Flicker is really good for that. It does help slag. Now I have not been able to confirm this because it is a bitch to test, but this might be confirmation bias on my part, so full disclosure. I have noticed when I have more points in Flicker, Scorn is more reliable to slag. So there's a good chance it affects Scorn. Because I think what they shoot out are little bullets, they can crit. I think they count as damage from guns, and I think Flicker affects it and helps that. So Flicker works really well with Scorn, it works really well with Life Tap. If you're using slag guns, it obviously helps with them. But it doesn't do all that much for dot damage rather than putting more dots out there. So next is Foresight. I see sometimes people doing builds and they skip this. Stop doing that. Right now, done. If you pick Flicker over Foresight because you think she's an elemental character, you're wrong. Flicker is never better than Foresight. Never. Never, ever, 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 never. Magazine size and reload speed on Tier 1 is a phenomenal boost. Now the boosts aren't massive, but 20 and 25 for a Tier 1 are really good, and there are a lot of comms that boost this. The Legendary Siren, the Legendary Cat, and others. So, yeah, having this boosted, and at 10 out of 5, that's 40 and 50, that's a massive difference to your guns. Absolutely get this. Yes, it's not an elemental skill, it's just neutral, but it is awesome. So yeah, Tier 1, great, great skill. Immolate. So Immolate is really cool and interesting. You It adds incendiary damage to all your shots fired while in fight for your life. Additional incendiary damage is based on the gun damage of the weapon you're firing. So how this actually works is, and it's 50% of your gun damage. But it's not the gun damage on the card, it's the damage your gun deals. So if you have all your DPS buffs, if you have Reaper, if you have a crit and you hit a crit and you have fire on fire and the enemy is slagged, you take all of that damage. And then what happens is after that hits, then a second hit happens, that's Immolate. And Immolate takes all of that damage and then it hits for 50% of it, but then it gets those other buffs. So if you're doing this on flesh, it gets the fire on flesh bonus again, even though the bullet already had it. So let's say you do 1,000,000 damage in a shot. This is going to do 500,000. But let's say that enemy is flesh. So you have, hold on, bring up a calculator, make sure I do this right. 500,000 times 1.75 for the fire and flesh bonus. Now it's up to 875,000 that Immolate did. And now let's say that enemy is slagged, times 3 for slag. Now that's 2,625,000. So the Immolate at this point is doing more damage than your bullet did because it is also getting the fire on flesh bonus and the slag bonus. This is why before OP levels came out that this was such a good raid boss killer. You just, grab a Norfleet, go into fight for your life, and win. Now, on the OP levels, what hurts this is the damage reduction applies to your bullet and applies to Immolate. Now, Immolate is still ridiculously strong, but it's not as strong as it was pre-damage reduction. Just the way, like, Slag helps it twice, damage reduction kind of hurts it twice. But it's still ridiculously good. It is probably the best fight for your life skill in the game. And it's definitely worth grabbing. Even on my way down the tree, I always put points in this, and I might not go into fight for my life a ton, but I go into fight for my life. You guys see it. I don't edit that shit out. I'm honest about my gameplay. And this makes it really easy to get out of fight for your life. If there's an enemy around and you can get them slagged, you're definitely getting up. It's just ridiculously strong. So I used to be in that camp when I was newer to this game. Oh, I don't ever go into fight for my life, blah, blah, blah. I'm so good. We all go into fight for our life. Get over yourself, get Immolate. It's fucking worth it. Next is Helios. So Helios, phase locking enemy causes a fiery explosion, damaging all nearby enemies. I'm going to go down to the test dummy for this. So Helios used to be pretty poor, and it got a pretty good damage buff with that last patch we got. And now it's a lot better. But it's still... So you see that. I'll wait for Phase Lock to come back and I'll hit him again. And we're going to look at both damages. So Phase Lock, 1,000,000. This 360. So the damage isn't great, but then it causes a dot. That starts to add up. The problem with Helios is the fact that it comes before Rune in the process of it, because Rune slags. So if Helios would come after Rune, it would do a hell of a lot more damage because the enemies would be slagged. Now on a single enemy it's not that great, but on a bunch of enemies you cause a ton of dots, it's got a big AoE and it hits them a lot. It is really good with subsequence builds because the first phase lock proc, it won't have slag, but chances are the next one there's going to be an enemy near it because a converge is going to grab that enemy and all those enemies are still going to be slagged from that first proc of subsequence. And then Helios will do a lot more damage, and then you just have all 4 of those dots eating away the enemy. You have chain reaction, you have phase lock damage over and over again, and then it really starts to add up. And that's where Maya's AoE damage, where I call her an AoE character more so than an elemental character, because Cloud Kill AoE, Helios AoE, Phase Lock and Converge AoE, Rune AoE. All these things are kind of like AoE damage, and you can just do big amounts of damage to a close group of enemies, incredibly effective. So a lot of people, you always want to get Foresight, but then to move down, a lot of times you will get Immolate, Chain Reaction, Reaper. Bloody Phoenix isn't that great, so to get to Ruin, you kind of have an extra 4 points or so. And maybe you're only going to put 4 in Immolate or 1, but you have some points to spend. And most often, that is a choice between Helios and Flicker. So which one do you get? The way I look at this, if you are doing a subsequence build, Helios is definitely superior, especially if you have a legendary binder that boosts it, because all those procs of Phase Lock are going to be going off. If you don't have a subsequence build, and let's say you're doing something like my Twisted Pimp build, Flicker is better because you have Life Tap and Scorn, and Flicker is going to work better with those. Yes, Helios works with Life Tap really well, but just having all of your guns dealing more dot damage is typically better than, Helios going off every, 8-10 seconds or whatever. Now, let's say you're doing a build where you're kind of going down to Quicken, you're not going down to these skills, like maybe a legendary cat build or something. Then it's a tougher choice. I would go with Flicker because Sandhawks, if you're doing like a Beehawk build or something, they have a low chance, but they have a lot of pellets, and Flicker really helps them create dots. And if you aren't going far into Harmony, what I was talking about, that dot healing, I had this a bunch when I was Beehawking when the peak just came out. I would be Beehawking an enemy, and I would have to heal. I'd switch to the Grog, and I would just heal, because dots would be out there from Flicker, and I would heal to full and switch back. I wouldn't have to throw a grenade. I wouldn't have to Phase Lock an enemy. I would just switch to the Grog, heal to full, switch back to my Sandhawk. So it kind of depends on what your other skills are, which one of these you choose to go down the tree. Not saying you can't take some other skills, but those are more niche things. So next is Chain Reaction. Like Wreck, this is one of her best DPS skills. I would say your top 3 are Reaper, Wreck, and Chain Reaction. Chain Reaction is really cool. While you have an enemy phase locked, all of your shots that hit enemies have a chance to ricochet and hit another nearby enemy. Chain Reaction only works with bullets. So this doesn't work with splash damage, so no rocket launchers, no E-Tech shotguns, no Torg-barreled ARs, those are pure splash. There's some red text guns that are pure splash as well. The Carnage is pure splash. There's a fair amount of guns like that, but what's really cool, this kind of acts like Bore. So when this happens, right now you see the Pimpernel's effect of all those bullets splitting. So when Chain Reaction goes off, it creates a new bullet that bounces towards an enemy. So it'll seek out an enemy, and because it's a new bullet, that effect will re-happen again. This is really cool. I did a whole video on how Bore and all those skills work, and I covered this more in depth. So I suggest you go watch that. But yeah, Chain Reaction, absolutely fantastic skill, because it doesn't get the damage bonus every time it happens like Bore does, but Bore you have to line up, where Chain Reaction you don't. So on mobs, Chain Reaction is a lot better because you phase lock enemies, you converge them, they're already close, and those bullets just start bouncing and killing things without you even attempting to. It's like a free kill. Where Bore, you have to line it up, and you don't always get the best chances of mobbing with Bore to get it, where Chain Reaction you can get tons of them. And if you set it up right while boosting Chain Reaction, you can still do your one-shot bunker kills, one-shot Saturn kills, one-shot constructor or ultimate badass constructors, or anything with overlapping hitboxes. Or sometimes if enemies overlap, like in Fink's Slaughter's House, there's a spawn with a bunch of Goliaths, and they kind of spawn on top of each other, and you can just one-shot and kill 8 of them. Or with the emergency button in the arid Badlands, there's a spawn where 2 ultimate badass loaders spawn in right on top of each other, and you can just hit them both and kill them in one shot. So there are a lot of overlapping things like Bore that this works really well with. But you can't do like Hyperius and some other things that Boar can. But it's still really awesome. So it's better in some circumstances, not as good in others. But like I said, go watch my video on it for more details. I'm not going to spend an hour talking about it now. Next is Cloudkill. So Cloudkill used to suck. And then on the October 29th final patch of Borderlands, it got like a lady fist or fastball type buff where they just cranked it way the hell up there. In my opinion, a little too far, because now this just dominates everything. I mean, I did a video where I killed Saturn with this in a level 1 repeater, basically just proccing Cloudkill. Like, it took some time, but it killed Saturn. So with this the way the Cloudkill works is shooting an enemy creates a lingering acid cloud, dealing constant corrosive damage to an enemies who touch it. Only one cloud can be active at a time, and the duration is Cloudkill duration is 5 seconds. And pretty much as soon as it goes away, you get a new one. So right there, you get this acid cloud. Now these are not dots. That is actually just elemental damage. So now it can cause a dot, as you can see there. But those 550 ticks are not dots. So things that boost dot damage do not boost Cloudkill damage, at least not very much. They will add to the dots that are caused by it, but you can see I shot him a few times there, and it does not have a high dot chance. It will not boost that 550 number. It will only boost the dots that come from it. So as you can see there, some dots happened. It will boost those, but those are tiny numbers compared to the Cloudkill ticks. So yeah, when you're leveling up Maya, if you get this, you can pretty much just kill everything in normal and true Vault Hunter mode with only Cloudkill. And that's where it's kind of just too good. And UVHM, it's ridiculously good too, but you see it's a pretty big AoE. Now one thing to be wary of, if you shoot Cloudkill and then walk into it, you won't get it. But if you shoot Cloudkill, well, you are kind of point blank. Let's say this pole is an enemy and I shot this, I would get Cloudkill procced on me at that point. So if it goes off at very close range to you, it can cause self-damage, but you can shoot it and then walk through it and be safe. But yeah, Cloudkill went from one of the worst game changers in the game to one of the best ones. So now Maya's got 3 really awesome game changers. I mean, Converge is such a utility. Res is obviously the best co-op skill in the game. And Cloudkill just does stupid damage. I mean, even on flesh enemies, it rips through them. So, it's fantastic. Backdraft. So, Backdraft also got a buff, but its damage is still not great. Your melee attacks deal additional fire damage. Additionally, when your shields are depleted, you create a fiery explosion damaging nearby enemies. Your shields must fully recharge before explosions. So this typically kind of blows because the enemies, it kind of makes you into a Nova Shield. So you can have a Nova Shield effect without having a shield. That's cool. The damage isn't great, and Maya's got so much control that you don't often need things like that. And dealing the fire to your melee attacks just doesn't do a ton of damage, and her only other melee buff is Mind's Eye. And I did like kind of a joking melee Maya thing, it didn't really work. But there are some ways to really make this work. And basically how you do that is a Transformer Shield. So if you put on a Transformer Shield, and you are hitting yourself with self-damaging shock, what happens is, when you hit yourself with that shock damage, or when you get hit by shock damage with the Transformer Shield, your shield depletes, but then the shock recharges it, like really fast in a blink of an eye. So a slow hand has 3 shock balls. So if you can't have you have to have kind of a lower level one so it doesn't go through the shield and hurt you, that'll be bad. But what you do is you kind of shoot the slow hand at your feet, and then 3 Novas go off, because each orb sets it off to deplete it and recharge it. And then you get 3 Backdraft Novas. And at that point, slagging enemies and doing that, you are doing significant damage. The other way to do it is throw kind of point blank chain lightnings. Can cause that to happen like crazy, because chain lightning bounces. So that can put a lot of those Novas off as well. Both Exotech has done this, and Bew did a video kind of showing that as well. So there is a niche use for this, but it's like one or two very kind of specific builds. And if you're not doing one of those, it's not that great. At least in my opinion. Some people might disagree, but I haven't found a great use for it outside of those two kind of setups. So I'll link those two videos and you guys can check them out. But I think it would have been cooler if they would have got rid of the melee attack thing and just made it a spike shield and a Nova shield. I think that would have been much better than the melee damage. Reaper, you deal increased gun damage to any enemy with more than 50% health remaining. So this is really awesome. That 40% gun damage may not sound great, but if you notice here, actually they both say gun damage. I thought that said weapon damage. So Reaper is a multiplicative damage skill. So what this means is typically most damage buffs are additive. So you take your gun base damage times 1 plus all your additive buffs. So 1 plus Wreck plus Accelerate plus Allegiance Relics are additive, plus any boost from like the legendary Siren or Catcom. So you start adding all those together, and you would take your gun damage times 1 plus all of those. But then Reaper sits on its own special multiplier. So then what you do is instead of adding that 40% to all those other numbers where you kind of get a little bit of diminishing returns, what you do is then you go times 1 plus 40% or times 1.4, and Reaper multiplies all your other gun buffs to make them that much bigger, and multiplies all your critical hit buffs like Mind's Eye and critical hits. So it's a separate special multiplier that works on top of everything. And with guns that have grenade damage that do not get splash damage, like the Pimpernels, guns with splash damage that don't get grenade damage. I'm not sure I said that right. Yeah, so guns with splash damage that don't get grenade damage, and there's a handful of them, not a ton, but Reaper affects that splash damage as well, which other gun buffs would not. So that's fucking cool. So yeah, Reaper, ridiculously cool skill. Really cranks your damage up. Now, it's only on enemies with more than 50% health, but this is another reason why I love Maya as a sniper. Like, this loves big damage one-shotting guns, shotguns, snipers. And she's an SMG character, and while this helps SMGs are kind of like tick down the enemies slowly, or quickly, but, you know, low power, fast DPS, where this is more of a burst damage gun. Kind of makes me wish they would have designed her as a sniper for that stuff. But either way, it is an amazing skill, tons of DPS, it's always on, and that's why, you know, this, Wreck, and Chain Reaction are her big three. I mean, she does not have a lot. You know, Foresight is DPS, Inertia is DPS, Accelerate and Mind's Eye are damage. But, yeah, Reaper really cranks her damage way up because of that. Multiplicative gun buffs are huge. You know, Axton doesn't have any of them. Krieg doesn't have any of them. You know, Zero and Sal do. Gage doesn't. Well, I guess Wires Don't Talk is elemental, so that's multiplicative. But it's kind of a rare thing in the game, and they really crank the damage up. So always get Reaper. Next is Blight Phoenix, the Wings. To me, this is a one or none. I'd never consider putting 5 points into it, especially because Immolate is so good, Foresight, Immolate, Chain Reaction, Cloud Kill, Reaper. But Blight Phoenix, it got a damage buff, but the damage is still minimal, and it's got an effect to it basically where it puts an AoE of elemental damage around you. If enemies come into that, it hits them and they kind of get that little stun effect. So what it's good for is preventing melee attackers from coming up and hitting you. It'll kind of bounce them off and give them that quick second stun so you can deal with them. That's really the only good thing about it. It doesn't really do shit for damage. So you can get that with just 1 point, and there's no point to putting 5 points into it. So if you do want those wings, I would put 1 point into this. So let's say you're not doing a subsequence build and you wanted that. I would probably put 3 into Flicker, 5 into Foresight, 5 into Immolate, 5 into Chain Reaction, 1 here, 5 here, 1 here, and then get Rune. There's really rarely ever a point to getting more than 1 point into this. There's probably some niche use cases for it, but there's very few really great use cases for this. And it has a downside where, because you have that AoE around you of damage, if you don't blow up a barrel near you, it will. And that barrel will likely kill you. Now, if you're a good player, an experienced player, you should be killing barrels that are around you. But let's be honest, we all miss some. Sometimes there's a barrel where we didn't have a line of sight to it, and then we kind of got hit hard. We got to go take cover, and then you end up walking into a barrel when you're doing that. You know, ideally, yes, we would kill all the barrels because we're all expert players. But guess what? Sometimes you end up standing next to a barrel you didn't want to be standing by, and you're hoping to God that the enemies don't shoot that and kill you as you're taking cover. You know, I mean, I've seen this happen to Fiber multiple times, and Fiber is probably one of the most disciplined Borderlands players I've ever seen. He's incredibly methodical about the way he plays, and he rarely puts himself in bad situations, but I've seen him have to duck and take cover right next to a barrel. And if Fiber does it, you also do it. So once again, kind of like Immolate, get over yourself. It does happen. It happens to you. Stop pretending it doesn't, and, you know, being a hero on the internet. It happens to the best of us. So that's not saying you can't get Blight Phoenix because of that, but be aware of that. But if you want the wings, put 1 point into it. They look cool, even though you can't see them, because it's a first-person game. Next is Rune. So Rune is an amazing capstone, not because of the anything but slag, let's be honest. So it's an action skill augmentation. Phase Lock now slags, electrocutes, and corrodes all nearby enemies. So when you phase lock something, I'll go back down to the test dummy here, you hit them with everything but a fire dot. Which is really weird that they separated Helios and didn't just have this do all 4 like it does. Or it already does slag. Yeah, it does 3, and it's just missing the 1. So right there, you have the fire from Helios, then you have the slag. So the good thing about Rune is slag comes before the other 2, and then you have the shock, and then you have the corrosive. So if Helios would have came after this, you can see just how much better it would have been. But it comes before it. So now Helios, before it was only doing, what, 300k? Now it's doing 1 million. That's a big difference, especially in a big AoE. So yeah, I kind of wish Helios just wasn't a skill and it was part of this. Or if it is going to be a separate skill, they would have had it proc after that. That would have actually been nice as part of the October 29th patch, is to make Helios proc after that. That would have made Helios way better. But it didn't, so oh well. But yeah, it's a great slag tool because the AoE range is really big, and you should have converge with it. It means you're pulling enemies in, and then they get hit by that, so you can slag a big group of enemies. So even if you target the phase lock enemy first, which I do quite often, I just get rid of that guy because I want him gone, I prioritize him, then the enemies below him are slagged and I can easily finish them off. So yeah, that is the cat tree. It's really her DPS tree. I mean, you have Wreck outside of it, but Reaper, Chain Reaction. I know Rune doesn't do a ton of damage on its own, but slagging everything is DPS. You know, 2 of her best DPS skills are on it, and I guess Cloud Kill. I don't really count that with her DPS skills, but it's a crazy damage skill. Immolate's crazy damage, won't fight for your life. Foresight's great DPS. So yeah, you have 3 really good defined trees. This is not really... It's got a lot of elemental skills, but I consider this more your DPS tree, because Reaper is not elemental, Chain Reaction is not elemental, Foresight is not elemental, and that's where you're getting most of your damage from. You have your healing tree, and then you have your utility tree. And I love all of them. And you can do a bunch of different builds with Maya, and play her a lot of different ways, and I love that. But the combat loop is always there, and I don't know why I'm getting those Steam notifications. I thought I turned that off. Oh well, I'll do that after the video. Next, let's move on to some guns. So, on to guns with Maya. Might as well start with SMGs because she is the SMG character, mainly because of class mod. It's really too bad they didn't at least give her one SMG skill. I mean, Axton has one assault rifle skill, Krieg's got one weird assault rifle skill, Sal's got pistol skills, Zero's got sniper skills, and Maya has no SMG skill. It would have been cool. Maybe they could have made Helios part of Rune and did some SMG thing there. But they didn't. So, obviously the Sandhawk. I mean, this is one of the most powerful weapons in the game because you have all these unlisted pellets. So with this there's 2 pellets stacked there. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pellets for 1 listed. So you have 7 unlisted pellets, which cranks this damage way the fuck up, and also works incredibly well with the bee. But you don't need the bee to make this good. I think that's been proven enough, and I've got some videos on that, but with the Catcom, you just crank your damage up so damn high with this thing, and all those pellets work really nice with Chain Reaction because they can bounce around and just hit so many things, and it just lays waste to enemies. I mean, that's really, there's nothing else to say. It's just ridiculously good. Well, actually, there is something else. You have this slow kind of waving bullet pattern with these, and because Maya's got Phase Lock, and Phase Lock holds enemies still, it makes it easier not to miss enemies. She also has Accelerate to speed up the bullets, which also helps. And when you Phase Lock something and you converge a bunch of enemies below it, it's really easy to just kind of AoE shoot this into that group of enemies and just slaughter all of them. Just by putting a wall of bullets into that converged, slagged, weakened crowd. In between Chain Reaction and everything, it just wins. So you can definitely do some spraying and praying with this. Next is the Tattler. The Tattler is one of the guns that got a really good boost from the loot hunt. It actually gotten 2 buffs. It got a Seraph buff early on. So when it first came out, a lot of the Seraph guns were underperforming, and there was a patch to buff some of them up, and then it got another buff in the loot hunt, really cranking this thing's problems up. So, like the Sandhawk, it has slow bullet speed, and Maya overrides that. It shoots out multiple projectiles at once, 3 per shot, for 1 ammo, which makes it insanely ammo efficient, and it cranks that damage up pretty good when you have 188 times 3, especially with that deep magazine size. You know, the fire rate's not terrible, and the reload speed is, but with the magazine that deep and doing that much damage per shot, I don't really worry about that too much. And also the legendary cat, and if you're doing SMG things, it boosts Foresight, which really helps that reload. So this thing is a shotgun in SMG form. With my SMG video the other day, this is kind of what I wanted, like an SMG that you're really just insanely good at close range, you know, kind of like a fast shotgun. That's what this is. It is a better version of the Bone Shredder, which has a wider spread. This is a little tighter. And yeah, so a lot of my skills really help this thing. Again, all the pellets help with Chain Reaction, Phase Lock and Converge help with the bullet speed, Accelerate helps with the bullet speed. She's got a class mod to crank it up, and this thing can put out the hurt very well. Plasma casters, I mean, of course we know how good plasma casters are. My favorite is Hyperion because you can get so point blank with it. Now these things do consume a shitload of ammo opposite of the Tattler because they are 2 bullets per shot, and a lot of them shoot really fast. You can see how quickly I'm going through 50 ammo there. But because of the high base damage at 288, plus they all have 50% splash damage, unfortunately not the splash damage that gets Reaper, but still that splash damage, the main damage, especially with chain reaction, just putting that splash all over the place, makes them really powerful weapons. And because they have splash, they have 2 chances to cause a dot, which also helps. And yeah, they're just damn freaking powerful, and they lay waste to a lot of things. And then next would be the bitch, because again, Hyperion, you can get super accurate with this thing. Now, unlike the other 3 I went over that all has slow bullet speed, I forgot to mention that with the Plasma Caster, but Accelerate helps that. The bitch is Hyperion, and Hyperion weapons have insanely fast bullet speed. And with this thing, it's got really good base damage, 75% critical hit damage. It's really easy to crit enemies in phase lock, even hip firing. And with the insane damage boost from Catcoms and Reaper and Wreck and all that shit, this thing just puts out the hurt insanely well. Not quite Lady Fist good, but damn near that. Just because that 800% critical hit bonus is stupid and broken. But yeah, the bitch is a phenomenal SMG that will make easy work out of a ton of things. And if you like the Bee and you don't like the Sandhawk, amp damage is multiplied by critical hit bonuses. So with this in Mind's Eye, you're looking at like a 105% critical hit bonus, which is very nice. So that's the best SMGs for her. Now, she can make any SMG good, but these 4, in my opinion, stand above the rest. Next weapon class, I just go in order. Let's talk about some assault rifles. So for assault rifles, obviously the Becca. Now, the Becca is good for so many reasons on her. You have unlisted projectiles, as you can see. You have high base damage, which plays really nice with Reaper and everything. You have penetration on it, which works great with chain reaction. So when this procs chain reaction, this bullet keeps going to hit multiple enemies and you create a new pellet. It has essentially everything chain reaction wants between unlisted pellets, bullet split, and penetration. So it's an insanely good gun for that. But also it's really good with restoration because it has penetration, so I can shoot an enemy and an ally in the same shot and heal and damage. So it's really good with that. But it's also good at that because it has really high base damage, so you can heal your enemies really fast with this thing. I mean, I can pop off... one shot will usually heal my allies up to about full, but it's easy to pop like 2 or 3 shots off and make sure they get healed. And because the other 3 bullets lag behind them a little bit, they get like a 2-phase healing, which can be kind of cool if they're still taking damage. So, it also is really good with Mind's Eye because it has a Type B critical hit bonus. It's only 15%, but it makes Mind's Eye bonus even bigger. So it works kind of well with about everything. Now, Accelerate somewhat hurts it because it causes the split to happen later, because the bullet's traveling faster. But again, Accelerate is not velocity. And kind of also like the Sandhawk, where you converge a bunch of enemies. Because you have that width of those 3 shots, it's easy to kind of spray and pray it and just hit kind of a wall of bullets to destroy them all, and with chain reaction and everything, it'll work. So this thing has so much synergy with Maya, it's kind of crazy. It's almost like it was made for her. Next, the Ogre. The Ogre just has great DPS, and it can start off a little slow, but once it gets going, and then you can have its RNG effect pop in. But with like chain reaction and rack and everything, this thing just chews through enemies like nobody's business. It's a really ammo efficient. The magazine gets stupid good with foresight. You see it's 81 here, but I have the Catcom on, so bam, 113. That's fucking ridiculous. And you phase lock something and this thing just goes off. and works really well with chain reaction because it's got splash, and you know, you're just popping those bullets, and it just kills really fast. I guess it's that simple. The Hail is another gun with a ton of synergy. So the Hail, as covered before, you can see it's got that bullet split. It also has a really high critical hit critical hit damage bonus. It's got splash damage. So this thing, you can, you know, put out a wall of bullets for your converged enemies. You do a ton of damage on crit with it, the splash damage, and it's got lifesteal. So this thing, again, is one of those guns that's just full of unique features and traits to it. And you reload really fast, you have a deep mag, you have a good fire rate. This just does it all. Does everything you want to do out of a gun. And next is the Kitten, which is a shotgun and assault rifle form that shoots out the Mad Hatter smile. But this is another Moxie assault rifle. And usually that widespread's kind of bad, but again, we have converge, so we can group up enemies and just lay waste to them. But also with Maya's survival, you can get really close to where that split is less of an issue, and you can absolutely just destroy the shit out of people with this thing, and it really keeps you healthy because it has lifesteal, and you can do a ton of DPS with it. Yeah, just great. So those are my favorite assault rifles on Maya. Next, pistols. I only popped in 3 pistols because there's a big drop off after these, and there's really not a whole lot of others with great synergy. Maybe I should have brought the Thunderball Fist, but the Herald is the Herald. Once again, kind of like the Sandhawk and Becca, you've got that widespread. Now Maya can get close enough with phase locking or tanking so that you don't have to worry about that spread as much, but when you phase lock a group of enemies, you can just be hitting so much with that spread because they're all tied together. So if you miss some of the pellets, they can hit a nearby enemy, and chain reaction works well with it. It's got unlisted pellets. It's just got stupid DPS. Once again, you do not boost the splash with Reaper, but that's okay because it's just a damn insanely powerful gun. The Lady Fist, I mean, is, you know, the gun version of the bitch. You get incredibly accurate. You have insane 800% critical hit. You know, Foresight really cranks that magazine size up. And yeah, this thing, I mean, it's just good on everyone. So, but because Reaper is not additive, Reaper multiplies that 800% critical hit bonus, which really cranks this up with Maya. Also really good in Fight for Your Life since you can hip fire it. You know, so many good things. There's not much to say about the Lady Fist. And the Grog's just really good for raids. No reason to talk about that. Shotguns. Maya loves her Hyperion shotguns so much that my top 4 shotguns with her are all Hyperion. Where's my Butcher? There's my Butcher. So, you know, the Interfacer, we all know how good the Interfacer is, but again, Converge makes those extra pellets more reliable. Because it has unlisted pellets and a bullet split, it makes it really good with chain reaction. Yeah, that's about all there is to say with this thing. You know, Foresight helps the low magazine size of shotguns. This thing's just got a ton of really good synergy with Maya. And it works incredibly well, but it does that with everyone. The Conference Call, kind of the same thing. You know, good hip firing, obviously, but with Converge, those bullets that go off sideways, those work really well because Maya's grouping up people like no one else can, so she can get a lot more out of the Conference Call for average mobs than pretty much any other character because she can hit more things with it. And then, again, because the bullet split and that effect of it, that works really well with chain reaction because that causes it to go off again. And you can just have bullets everywhere with this thing and just clear rooms like there's no tomorrow. I actually think it's a little better than the Conference Call for mobbing with Maya because it's more ammo efficient. Interfacer is 2 shots, or 2 ammo per shot, where the Conference Call is 1. There's my Conference Call. Next up is the Slow Hand. So the Slow Hand is pure splash, so no chain reaction with this thing. But the AoE is so big it doesn't really matter because when you converge enemies, that pretty much hits all the enemies in a converge. And while it's pure splash and Reaper doesn't boost all splash, this is the kind of sploosh. This is the kind of splash that Reaper boosts. So this can do insanely powerful things with Maya. You can't get too close to it because it will kill you. But between that and then obviously it's a Moxie gun, so lifesteal, you can just do so much AoE stuff. And I did a build around this called the AoE Maya that you guys can check out as well, where it was like this and Helios and Subsequence and Rune and Cloud Kill, and it was just, you know, you group up enemies and then say goodbye to them because they just all get hit so well. And next up is the Butcher. So the Butcher doesn't really have any special effect with Maya. But yet this is, out of all the testing, and it's not just me, Fiber found this too when he was doing his Does It Suck series, or his chain reaction testing when he was doing his Maya chain reaction build, is he was really impressed by what the Butcher did. Now part of this is its special effect. As you watch the ammo here, it has a chance to add ammo to its ammo pool, making you be able to shoot a really long time with this. Now it is dependent on RNG, but from what I've experienced, this gets about a 50% magazine increase, if not more, which plays really nice with Foresight, because Foresight, you increase the magazine size with this, and you know, for every bullet left in it, you have a good chance for it to keep firing. So it's insanely ammo efficient, but it's also really fast. At 7.6 fire rate for a shotgun that can get such a big ammo pool, you can see there 22 the Foresight boosted. This thing can just shoot for days and just put out so many pellets that it just chain reaction goes everywhere and kills everything. I used this in my last Thoughtlock video, and I think that was a good example of how well it just chews through enemies. It plays incredibly well with Wreck. It plays nice with Reaper. It plays nice with Foresight. Plays nice with Accelerate. That helps the spread a little bit. You know, it does have a decent spread. But this thing, I mean, it just shreds through things. And like I said, well, it doesn't have that specific, you know, special effect with Maya that, you know, like an unlisted pellet or penetration or any of that stuff. It just works so fucking good with her. And then I brought one more shotgun with me to kind of round out 5, because shotguns, oh, 2 more. The Heartbreaker, whoops, that's not the Heartbreaker, that's the Butcher again. So the Heartbreaker is another, where is it? Hyperion shotgun. This one, kind of like the Kitten, has a pattern where you shoot a heart. But kind of like the Butcher, you've got a good fire rate. You have an increased critical hit effect, although it's hard to crit with too many pellets because of the way it shoots, but you can kind of crit with the top half. But it is a Moxie gun, so you get that sustained healing. Maya likes to play up close and personal with phase lock and all this stuff, so this plays pretty nice with her, but more so the sword explosion. So this one, you shoot this, and with this version you have 3 main pellets, which are swords, and these swords have splash damage on them, which gets Reaper. Now, the mini swords that pop out and explode do not get Reaper or chain reaction because they are grenades. But you have this another great AoE weapon. You can cause self-damage on it, but if these 3 swords proc chain reaction, they reproc the extra swords that blow up. So you have that extra kind of like Pimpernel effect on this that can proc again with the chain reaction. So this thing does insane damage with Maya as well and has really good synergy. What haven't I covered here? Pistols, shotguns, submachine guns, assault rifles, snipers. Let's look at some snipers. So Maya is the second best sniper in the game compared to Zero. I'm doing a series on that right now. You guys will learn more. So I brought some of the snipers. Now, the best sniper with Maya is, without a doubt, the Pimpernel, because the way this works with chain reaction, be able to reproc that special effect just over and over again. This is the gun where you can use it to the best effect to one-shot the big enemies with chain reaction, ultimate badass constructors, Saturn, etc. Also, the splash damage gets Reaper. You get that big AoE, which works great with Converge as well. It also plays nice with Restoration, because a lot of times if allies are close to the enemies, you can hit allies and enemies in the same shot. It's almost near Becca level for that Maya synergy, and it's just the Pimpernel. Now the longbow is our Minecraft shotgun, so it has a weird, I don't know what weird, but it has an arc to the shot and slow bullet speed. And that's the drawback to it, but it has crazy high base damage, as you can see. And it's got a critical hit increase, which you can see there. So this thing can crank out a lot of damage if you can land the shots, and Maya can hold people still. So Maya's really good at landing shots with this thing, but also Reaper plays really great with it again, because Reaper loves high damage, single, one-shot, one-kill guns like this. But it can get really good fire rate and DPS, especially when you have Wreck going. So yeah, this is just a great sniper on Maya. Plain and simple. Also, Accelerate can help. You have to adjust for it because it changes the arc, but it helps them land faster. Next is the Sloth. The Sloth doesn't quite have your longbow critical hit and damage, but since it's a doll, you get your burst damage. And it does have slow bullet speed, which you can A, negate with Phase Lock and Converge, and B, help out with Accelerate. And it just cranks out really high damage. You can scope out to not waste bullets with it. And it just really, again, solid-ass sniper. Not much else to say. And then you got the Liuda, which once again, high base damage for a Vlados sniper at least. Really good fire rate, really good reloads, or not reload, really good magazine size, really high critical effect chance, and you have a bullet split, unlisted pellets, which Maya loves with, again, chain reaction and Converge. So she doesn't make this as good as Zero does, as the critical ascension stacker that it is, but she can make really good use out of it nonetheless. So that is all the guns with Maya. Let's talk about shields. So as I was going through with the skill trees, Maya's got two really good shield skills of Inertia and Ward. And then Kinetic Reflection can really help shields as well. So she's a bit like Axton, where you can make any shield really good. The Blockade, you can just tank with it like there's no tomorrow. I'm going to put on a comm that gets the most out of this stuff. Actually, Legendary Siren will do enough. So you can see with this 1.9 million normally, 2.4. So you are getting shield capacity help from that, which makes the Blockade that much better since you have your damage resistance on it. You can also help the recharge delay of all these shields quite a bit, which is fantastic. I mean, this is just a good tanky shield. The antagonist and Blockade to me are pretty much equal. Some people prefer one or the other. This will have a better recharge delay depending on the parts of your Blockade. Similar capacity here, as you can see, which would make sense. They have similar capacity to start with. Actually, is that the same capacity? It is. The rate's a little bit slower, but the delay's that much better, and you can get slag out of this. Now, Maya doesn't always need that slag from it. A lot of other characters appreciate the slag from the antagonist better than Maya, because they have less slagging options than her. But depending on how you build her, you might want that slag. Then the bullet deflection, all that stuff. Now, a lot of people ask, how does this work with kinetic reflection? Does it stack with it? And the answer is, it's a separate thing. So, you're getting shot by a bullet. I don't remember which one comes first, but the bullet's getting shot at you, it hits you. First, you'll have a roll for, let's say, the antagonist. It might be kinetic reflection. So you'll have that roll. It'll either deflect or hit you. And then it goes and then you roll for kinetic reflection. So it's kind of like a gun with splash damage and dots. You have 2 chances to deflect the bullet and get damage reduction. That makes the antagonist work pretty damn well. The slag balls always help, but they can self-slag you. And the damage reduction here compared to the damage resistance does more than damage reduction, the way math does. So it's not quite as good. And I believe the damage reduction is only on bullets for this, where the blockade has it against everything. The evolution is your ultimate health stacking, which I showed when we were going over the Harmony tree. If you want to play Nurse, you use this and a blood, and you crank the hell out of your max health, which makes Elated insanely good. And you can actually health stack so much with Maya where things like Vora's Novas won't health gate you. That's how crazy Maya can health stack with stuff like that. Spunky's demonstrated that multiple times, or at least I've seen it playing with him. The B is the B. You know, Maya can really help negate the weaknesses of the B, which are its long recharge delay and tiny capacity. Foresight really helps those. Or sorry, Ward. Ward at negative 80% really helps that delay. You know, you help your capacity out quite a bit, and the inertia helps keep it up as well. So the B, Maya can make good use of it, but also it's a lot easier to keep up the B when you can hold enemies still, converge them in, or even better with Thoughtlock, have them fight each other. Making her one of the best characters to use the B. And also Reaper boosts the B damage where additive bonuses don't. And Mind's Eye does as well, so she's got a few ways to boost its damage. What do I have left here? Crack Sash is cool because it's low capacity and fast delay. So something like this with Ward, it just recharges so goddamn fast. It'll break constantly, but it'll just constantly recharge, and you'll always get the full capacity bonus with this too, which is really nice. And then lastly is the Rough Rider, which is really used for fleet, let's be honest. That's its purpose. So with this, and where is it? You know, you have crazy movement speed. So now let's take off that shield. So, normal movement. Banshee movement. So if you like running around really fast and getting to things faster, this definitely does it. But that's really what the Rough Rider is for. Some people have tried doing kind of these builds and just going to a lot of her healing to try to be as survivable as possible. And you can definitely make those viable. But if you're going to do that, I suggest not using this class mod and using a class mod, maybe like the Binder or something, because you're still going to have increased movement speed, but you're also going to be able to get some more DPS bonuses. So that's a better place to kind of try to meet it than going full speed. Anyways, that is shields. Grenades. I only brought a few grenades. So Maya doesn't do anything to boost grenades. Yes, that's Brick Co-op. My Siren's name is Brick. I have a solo and a co-op one. Grenades, she loves shock grenades because you have Scorn and Ruin. A lot of times you don't need grenades to slag like a lot of characters use those to. Also, a lot of people like Zero will also use it for transfusions, slag transfusions in particular. to get some healing, but Maya's got a lot of healing, so she doesn't need to use her grenade for healing. She's got a lot of slag, so she doesn't need to use it for slag. So my absolute favorite grenade on her, no surprise for you guys, is the Quasar, because A, it's got that the biggest converge in the game, and yes, you have converge with Maya, but when you can do a double pull, so what happens when you pull enemies in, there's a lot of enemies on the outside of converge that gets kind of pulled in, but they don't get pulled all the way in. So one way you can use the Quasar is you can throw it before you phase lock to bring enemies in, start the damage, then you phase lock, and those enemies that kind of got pulled in a little get pulled the rest of the way in, so you get more enemies pulled in. So more enemies get hit by the Quasar, more enemies get hit by Helios, Runes, Slag, Chain Reaction, Cloud Kill, all that stuff. But then you can also use it in between phase locks. So, a lot of people will use like the Legendary Binder, the Legendary Siren, a Bone, Quicken, all these things where you can phase lock really fast. And with the Quasar, you can kind of phase lock Quasar, and enemies are always getting pulled, which means they're not really shooting you that often and just really crowd control the shit out of everything. And then also it'll strip shields, so you can just go fire on flesh and kind of ignore that other stuff. But it also does a lot of damage, so it can kill on its own. Next is the Stormfront. So the Stormfront doesn't have that pull, but it has this massive AoE, as you can see, where it can do so much damage to enemies within that AoE, but also works insanely good with Converge. But it also works great with Life Tap, because it's sustained healing. So if you have that out and you have all these enemies under it just keep getting hit, it's almost impossible to kill you if you got a kill skill open, since you just have so much healing coming to you every second. So it works really well again with Converge and all of her AoE stuff, but also Life Tap. And it's Shock, so it strips shields, so you can concentrate on matching elements. Next would be transfusions, either a slag or a shock transfusion. I've got the O negatives here. They work good because maybe you don't want to go down the Harmony tree, but you want to have some more healing. You want to play more nurse-ish, and you can get the elements you want out of those. Like I said, you can use a lot of different grenades on her for a lot of different reasons, but she doesn't boost grenade damage. So she's not going to be doing stuff like Axton is. You can always use a fastball because a fastball is just strong, but I would rather do AoE stuff, so Merv grenades, Fire Bee, Firestorm. I typically like big AoE ones that work well with her Converge and Rune and Cloud Kill and kind of all the AoE stuff. But Quasar is without a doubt my absolute favorite. Relics. Bones, obviously, because bones are bones. Cooldown elemental damage. Elemental damage is multiplicative, and she doesn't have any elemental damage boosts, so they go a long way of playing really nice. Especially with Reaper, since then you're getting two kind of multiplicative buffs, which is fantastic. And the faster you can phase lock, the more crowd control you have, the better. The Bloods I've mentioned a few times in this, which are really good for health stacking. Or just a vitality relic, but if you're gonna health stack, you might as well also get ammo, right? Especially when you get them on things like snipers, shotguns, launchers, things that don't have a lot of ammo. And if you're playing Nurse, launchers can be really cool because the restoration, where you can hurt enemies and heal allies, and you don't have to be that accurate to heal them, and launcher damage is so big that you will definitely heal your allies to full with a launcher shot. So that's a very cool thing. But the slow hand, shotgun ammo too, also does that. And you can just use a slag slow hand and just kind of spray the field and help slag things, heal, and hurt. Good combination there. Obviously this for your explosive stuff, Allegiance relics. You can do your typical deputy or whatever, but typically with me it's kind of the Bloods and the Bones that play nicest with her. A lot of times I like to play with Allegiance relics of different types just for the fun of it, but unless you're going like Jacobs, usually a Bone is better. So nothing too special with the relics for her. Lastly, we got class mods, so I'm spec'd out of everything. Alright, so let's start on these. Actually, I'm going to take a quick break and I'll be back to start on those. Okay, so class mods. I already covered the red text ones in my good, the bad, and the ugly, so I'll kind of make those quick here, assuming this is going long enough. The legendary Siren is one of my favorites because it kind of hits everything. You have 5 skills. You have a massive cooldown at 53%. Gun damage at 39% always on is a big deal, especially when you have Reaper to multiply that. And then the red text ability increases movement speed by 45% when you phase lock, which sometimes enemies will phase lock in a weird position and you can't get to their crit, and this allows you to reposition and still kill them. But Ward is incredibly great. I've already covered that quite a bit. Accelerate boosted, a lot of times, at least in my build, I'll just put 1 point here, but if I wasn't using guns that were somewhat negatively affected by that, I'd probably do 1 here and 4 here in that build, because, you know, always on gun damage when Maya doesn't have a lot of it is really helpful. Especially on bosses where that second half of the health bar doesn't have Reaper. You know, Mind's Eye, again, you know, more DPS. So you got 2 DPS so far, plus the DPS from the comm. Skip Sweet Release, which is kind of sad. Flicker is kind of a hit or miss, but boosted Flicker is pretty nice. You can put 1 point in it and enjoy having a little bit, or boosted it all the way makes Scorn almost never a miss, and really helps with life tap stealing. And then Foresight boosted, I've already covered that, how amazing that is. So the reason I love this, it's a really well-rounded class mod. It doesn't do nearly the cat DPS, but it's got really great survival and great utility with a cooldown, and it's pretty equal to the Binder in terms of DPS. The Binder does more while phase lock is up, and this does more while phase lock is down. So they kind of balance out there. To me, you use this when you're not doing subsequence, and if you're doing subsequence, you use the Binder. So, speaking of that, going into the Binder, as you can see here, we're boost. Suspension, again, this is why you use it for subsequence, or one of the many reasons. But, yeah, this can let you get 10 to 14 second phase locks, depending if you're going Thoughtlock or not. Wreck, so for those long phase locks, you're going to have great DPS. Sweet Release works incredibly great with subsequence, because every time you kill an enemy, it goes to get another one. You can just have healing all over the place. Helios, again, works great with subsequence, because you can get so many procs of it. And on those second procs, they're going to be slagged, and you saw how much more damage that does when they're slagged. And Reaper is obviously a massive DPS, so you have 2 great gun things here. You have a great healing. You have a great utility that works with subsequence. It's incredibly well themed for subsequence builds. You don't have to do subsequence to use this, but it works so freaking well with it. The Catcom was exactly what Maya needed with OP8. I don't know why my Steam settings changed. I had that turned off. It boosts all DPS. And Maya at level 61 was considered, you know, one of the weaker DPS characters, and kind of needed a B-Hawk to keep up with raid bosses, and this really helped her because this is her raid boss comm. You know, Accelerate boosted, Mind's Eye boosted, Wreck boosted, Foresight boosted, Reaper boosted, and then 138% more gun damage on SMGs. It's freaking crazy. And the accuracy, you don't really feel that with the SMGs too much. Especially with the Sandhawks. So just pure DPS. If you need to do pure DPS, this is the comp for you. I don't like it for general play that much because I would rather balance out survival. But for raiding and, you know, big bosses, it's hard to compete with this. You know, Saturn in the Peak, put on a corrosive B-Hawk in this, and there's no better way to kill him. The Nurse, also incredibly well done. Like, they nailed all of Maya's second legendary comms. The Nurse was already good, but, you know, Sweet Release boosted is insane. Restoration boosted is absolutely insane. Elated boosted is crazy, especially with Restoration health stacking. And then sustenance makes you really hard to kill, and if you can stay alive, you can keep healing people. And the fact that they boosted suspension to make sure you get sweet release off by having longer phase locks and to keep elated going is perfect. I wouldn't change a thing with this comp. It is pretty much ideal. Some people will go, oh, what about life tap? If you're a full nurse, you're not getting many kills, so you don't need life tap. Also, when you have 10 out of 5 sustenance, you're health stacking, you probably have an evolution on, and you have elated and sweet release, you don't need life steal. Not as a full nurse. So yeah, pretty much ideal. The only thing I don't like about his team health regen per second is those numbers are always so weak. I wish they were percentage based or just a little bit higher. But hell, it's something extra. It's not bad. And then you go to the Slayer con, which I hate. I hate all of these because if they would pick different skills maybe, but the burn damage again is only dots. Ignite chance, kind of cool, but not really that great. The max health is outside of the damage calculation, so it doesn't get boosted by percentage-based things like the blood, so it's not good for health stacking. And with this one, this is what pissed me off more. So you have pretty much the same skills as the Legendary Siren, and they picked up Sweet Release, which I'd rather have the Legendary Siren have, well, kind of, but they dropped Foresight instead of Flicker, which sucks. And Sweet Release, the reason I don't mind it being not on the Legendary Siren that much is this is so good at 5. For at least solo play, anything more than 5 is kind of wasted. So even with the Legendary Binder, I'll only put 1 point into it. I have 6 out of 5 because if I'm doing a co-op with 4 people, 10 out of 5 is nice, but 10 out of 5 is wasted in solo play. It's just overkill healing. So yeah, this hot pile of garbage, like always. I mean, if you're leveling up and you haven't found a better comm, it's alright, but so let's just go in order here. Matriarch. So this is not a fantastic comm, but it's solid. Max health, again, I don't like those things, but magazine size is helpful. And then it's it's a really nice solo nursing comm, if that's your thing, because boosted elated is crazy good, boosted sustenance is crazy good, boosted life tap is really good. And then the fact that you have magazine size to get a little bit of DPS out of it, it's not a bad solo nurse comm. It's not phenomenal, there are better comms in it, but it's solid, does a job. I think I'm going to come back to that. The regular cat. So compared to the other cat, so this had Wreck, Mizai, and Accelerate. The legendary cat, you have another 30%. That's crazy. And then you added Reaper and Foresight. So they picked great skills to add to that to keep with the theme of it. Did a great job. But if you're not level 61 yet or you haven't found one yet, this is still an insanely good class mod. Not much more to say about it than that. The Cunning Fox, again, Ignite and Burn are only dots, and dots aren't that great, but it boosts Reaper, and anytime a comm boosts Reaper, that's not bad. Blight Phoenix, I think, is not something you'd want, so you'd probably want a blue one with +6 Reaper and +5 Helios. And then that's a fairly solid comm. It's not going to be a great comm, but if you want to theme a fire build, you can get quite a bit out of it. And, Helios boosted does a good amount of damage. You'll want to slag first before you phase lock. But between that and Reaper, you're going to take care of business. So, while there are much better comms for her, this one is pretty solid. Now, if it actually boosted all fire damage, it would be insanely good. The Angelic Nurse, so to compare this to the Legendary Nurse got more per second, but that doesn't really matter. The original one had Elated, Restoration, and Sweet Release, which were all good. Adding in Suspension and Sustenance, I think, were just phenomenal adds. But, again, kind of like the cat comm, if you can't get there, this is still a damn good nursing comm if that's your playstyle. There's really no replacing it, because Elated, Sweet Release, and Restoration, those are the 3 you want. You want to boost your health to max to get most out of Elated, And then, obviously you want sweet release. So, but just to kind of show what a smart job they did with the legendary nurse by adding in sustenance to keep yourself alive better, and then adding in suspension to get more out of elated and sweet release. Phenomenal. The Blurred Trickster. So this is one of those rare comms that can outdo the legendary comms because of the power of chain reaction. Now I typically use the blue one, but I brought the purple one for this video. So this, it's so good. So chain reaction boosted is crazy, and it can just make a mockery of the game. You can get this at +5, it's 80%. With the blue one, you can get up to 88. But then the other two skills are so good. But before I get into those, the passive is fire rate, which is awesome. Just a passive 32% fire rate bonus, that's huge. And especially with chain reaction, the more bullets you put out there, the more chain reaction you can get. And at 80%, you get a lot of chain reaction. So DPS on this is crazy. Then you boost life tap, and again, if you can get this up to almost 12%, it's insane, but you can also just put 1 point into it and get it up to 60%, which is also, just 6% is awesome, especially when all those bullets going everywhere with chain reaction. Makes you really hard to kill. And then kinetic reflection. So some people would actually prefer to do a blue one with +6 kinetic reflection and +5 chain reaction. And that way you have this crazy chain reaction damage, and then kinetic reflection at 110% damage reduction heals you and reflects 100% of the bullets, and those bullets activate chain reaction, and yeah. This does crazy things. So this comm, almost every variation of it is good, minus maybe kinetic reflection and life tap. You wouldn't want a blue one of just those two. You definitely want chain reaction, but there's definitely use cases for a blue chain reaction and life tap, depending on your build. There's use cases for the purple, obviously. And if you're going a pure chain reaction build, the purple's the best bet. And then there's definitely cases if you want a blue with +6 chain reaction. But the fact that you have insane DPS, insane healing, and then this one gives you both DPS and survival, and then you have DPS here. This is just easily one of the best class mods, non-legendary class mods in the game. It's so well designed. I really wish they made this into a legendary. And what I like is there's 2 kill skills on it. I would have loved if they would have added inertia for another kill skill, and maybe gone all the way. Even though I don't love like Blight Phoenix, I think that's our only other kill skill. It would have been kind of cool to see one themed over kill skills. But if they would have added like inertia and foresight, that way you have all that magazine and reload combined with the fire rate. Oh god, that would have been my ideal comm, is to add inertia and foresight to this. It would have been so much fun. Some people always go Reaper Wreck. You just don't need those two with everything this comm does. But the increased magazine and that crazy reload would have worked really well with chain reaction to make sure you get the most out of it. But anyways, yeah, so good. Bullet Witch, now we're taking a turn to her worst class mod probably. So this one is crowd chance and crowd damage, so that doesn't boost cloud kill unless it produces a dot. But the main cloud kill damage, which is what makes it so good, is not boosted by this. It does help dots get procced by it, but the 3 skills are just stupid. So yes, it boosts kinetic reflection. I just talked about how good kinetic reflection can be boosted, but the secondary skills are Flicker and Helios. Now, when I was talking about these 2 skills, I was usually talking about you want to pick 1 or 2 of these skills to go down the tree. You rarely want both. And this isn't really that great for Helios because it doesn't boost fire stuff that Helios is fire. And it's not really a great subsequence comm, and like there's no great DPS here, and there's one good survival, but both of these 2 are kind of mediocre skills. So if you want to do a kinetic reflection build, you're way off better with a Trickster, which gets way more out of kinetic reflection than this, and it just makes no sense. I mean, At least Blight Phoenix has corrosive damage as well, so... But that's... I don't know. This is one of the worst class mods in the game. It is terrible. Never use it. If you get them, throw them away. Binders... So on this one, the original binder had Reaper, Helios, and Suspension, which was really good for subsequence. This one got a little better on the team cooldown rate, but you probably won't notice that 2%. But adding Wreck and Sweet Release was, again, brilliant. So because this boosts Reaper and Suspension and a cooldown, it's still a really good comm if you can't get to the legendary one. But it's kind of a mini legendary. Warder's kind of like the Matriarch. It's a solid comm. There's better choices. But you're boosting Ward and Wreck. Now, Recompense, not that great, so typically I would not go with this for Recompense. But adding in that shield capacity and Ward... Well, 234 there. I think we're hitting caps there. But like the Crack Sash here, which is regularly 575,000, is now over 1 million, which is a big deal. So this thing is really solid. I mean, Wreck, great DPS, and Ward. So typically I would go with the blue one, probably +6 Wreck, or I mean, you could even go +6 Ward for extreme survival and +5 Wreck, which is enough. Really solid comm. So leveling up, I think this is a great comm to find because, you know, again, you have Ward in the passive for 2 survivals and then one of her best DPS skills. Not so much, I mean, you can use it endgame, but endgame there are better comms, but while leveling up, this is a really good class mod to find, in my opinion. The Unyielding Banshee, I kind of already talked about this, but this is your hurling way to help shield recharge rate, which is kind of cool. And it helps delay, but it lowers your max health. This is like the extreme niche com. I can't say that word right now. But, you know, if you want to boost fleet, it's great. And if you're not up to OP8 yet and you want to do some of the crazy immolate kills, and you can't really do the deal with the devil anymore, but still, you can, on a lot of raid bosses, you can still kill them in a single fight for your life duration with immolate boosted +6. And God, everyone's on. Backdraft, this can be really good for your backdraft builds as well. So this has got like 3 niche cases, and it's really good for those, but I don't really have fun with any of those things, so I don't really like it personally. But there's a lot of use for this, so it's kind of weird on how it works like that. But like if you're doing the fleet build and you're wearing this, as you can see, it's not doing anything for your DPS, and it's not really helping your survival much either, other than making you really fast, because you're going to use the Rough Rider, and then it's going to lower your health. So that's why I say if you're going to do the fleet thing, just wear the Rough Rider with a DPS comm, and don't bother with that. Now, onto the Tiny Tina comm. This one made me angry because so many other characters got such good versions of this that boosted really good skills. Because the passives are great on these, without a doubt. But this one, and they called it the Cleric, so it's kind of like, alright, we're going to kind of do this nurse thing. But it's kind of a failure. Because it's not team nursing. Although, I mean, Restoration's kind of that, but no elated or sweet release, just Restoration. And Restoration, again, at endgame, it's so good you only need 1 point, so it's not really worth boosting. Life Tap is another one. At endgame, it's so good, like, I only put 2 or 3 points into it, and that's all I need with it. So to kind of boost it seems a bit overkill. You know, I'll take it with the Trickster, because the Trickster's got 2 other really awesome skills. And then it's got Suspension, which boosted is really cool for subsequence builds especially, but this one doesn't do anything with Phase Lock. You know, no elated, no sweet release, no rack, no chain reaction. So there's really no synergy with here. It's like 3 random skills. that doesn't make any sense. You know, it could have been cool if they would have gone full nurse on this. So if they would have gone like restoration, elated, and sweet release, I mean, that'd be a little too close to the nurse. But, you know, at that point, or even, you know, elated, restoration, and suspension, you know, something to kind of do a nurse comm, and then you got your passes for DPS, so you can kind of be a DPS nurse. But, like, it's not, and it just doesn't make any sense. You know, Sal got fucking money shot. Zero got, I think, Two Fang, and there's other good ones on Zero's. Drawing a blank right now. But Maya just got these weird random skills, and every time I try this comm, it just doesn't really work, and they don't really make sense. I don't know, it would have been, you know, inertia was never boosted. Pick inertia. You know, Foresight's always solid. Rack and Reaper are always solid. You know, Mind's Eye, maybe they could have made a cool sniper comm with her for it, would like accelerate Mind's Eye and Reaper. And then with the critical hit damage and some of that stuff. I don't know. There's so many things they could have done, and they didn't do any of them. And it's kind of sad. It's just weird random skills, and it annoys the shit out of me. That it just, other characters got such good ones, and Maya's one is just hot trash, and even the boost on it, the good passes rarely make up for the bad skills with the other comms you can get, and then the fact that these are so hard to farm to get even a good version, which I don't even know if she has a good version, makes it even worse. So, yeah, that's her class mod. So she's got fairly solid class mods for the most part. Her Cleric and her Corrosive Witch are her two worst. And she's got a bunch of just solid ones, but then, you know, obviously you got your Tricksters, and all of her legendary comms are amazing. And as much as I love the legendary comms, I think in this game it ended up hurting the game a little bit because they somewhat alleviate choice. So with Maya, it's really legendary comms or Trickster at endgame. And, I mean, like I said, all the legendary comms, well, 4 of the Slayer sucks. But the other 4 are all really awesome. They really have, like, their own roles. And then, obviously, the Trickster stands alone because of its chain reaction. But it just would have been really nice if there's a little more variation there, in my opinion. Anyways, thanks for watching. As always, I appreciate it. If you guys have not yet followed the channel, please do so. Let me know in the comments what you think, where you disagreed. Even disagree with me on Maya. That's fine. I'm cool with that. I probably said some things you guys don't all agree with. But I try to be fair for even that stuff that I don't love, like the Banshee and Fleet and some of that stuff. Blight Phoenix. And yeah, that's it. I will see you all later. Oh, join my Facebook group. I started a Facebook group. Haven't really talked about it yet. So that's linked in my description below as well. So check that out. That's it. Thank you once again. I'll see you all later. Bye.